I woke up one hot August morning to discover there was a man in my bedroom. He was hunched over my shelves and he was looking at me. One hand was sort of mid-rummage and the other one was like this. We stared at each other for quite a while. In my head, I'm trying to figure out who this person must be. I must know him, right? Did I entertain last night? Did one of my roommates? But this guy's face was not ringing a bell. Finally, I asked, "Do I know you? Do you want something?" Money. So I immediately went for my knapsack, which was beside me on the floor. But before I could reach it, he said, "Don't move. I'll get it." Okay. This was a perfect opportunity to use the personal alarm, the pepper spray that my parents insisted that I carry around with me when I moved to Toronto. But that's not what I was thinking, actually. I was thinking of being as accommodating as possible and getting him my wallet. He slowly approached my bed, and as he did so, he asked, "You're not going to scream, are you?" "No." He got to my bed and crouched down beside me. At the time, I was sleeping on a futon, so it was kind of low to the ground. So when he crouched down, we were pretty much eye to eye, and he starts rummaging through my bag. "You should really get some bars on that window," he offers. I look at the window, and that's when I notice that the screen has been slashed. He climbed up 3 stories of a fire escape that wasn't stairs. It's like this, I don't know, this weird sort of cubic structure. He climbed up there onto my balcony, slashed the window with what I assume was a knife, and now he's giving me security advice? Yeah, I'll talk to my landlord. He finally found the $15 that was all I had in my wallet. "What's your name?" he asked. "Jeanie." "What's yours?" But he wouldn't tell me. "Where do you go to school?" I guess he figured by my lack of cash that I must have been a student. U of T, I said. "Oh yeah, my brother goes there." I was like, "Oh, cool." Then he noticed my cigarettes, which were beside my bed, and asked if he could have one. I was like, "Sure, can I have one too?" He grabbed them, pulled us out a couple, and lit them. Now, I knew that he didn't like it when I moved around, so I asked if he could also grab the glass bottle that was on the night side table as well, so that we could ash into it. He looks at me really seriously and says, "No, you can get it." It's like a test or something. Like maybe I'm going to hit him, or I don't even know. So without breaking his gaze, I reached beside me, grabbed it. I moved very slowly and brought it back. I didn't swing it at him. I just held it between us. Then he started telling me about how he was mugged by a bunch of niggers and how they'd stabbed him. And I got my back up because I don't much appreciate that word. And I was going to say something. I wanted to say something, but then I thought maybe now isn't the best time to lecture this guy about racist language. Besides, by this time he had his shirt pulled up and he was showing me this really awful wound that he had. So I just oohed and awed and tried to be sympathetic. We finished our cigarettes and he started to get ready to go. He asked, "Do you party?" "Yeah." "Do you drink?" "Yeah." "Do you smoke?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, we should get together sometime and party." I'm like, "Okay, well, you know where to find me." And then he's like, "I owe you $15, and what goes around goes around." I decided to let that one pass. Then he asked if he can leave through the door instead of the window through which he came. There was a door in my room that led out onto the balcony. I said, "Sure," and after making me promise that I wouldn't call the cops, he was gone. I didn't even get out of bed to lock the door behind him. I just fell back down onto my pillows and went right back to sleep. I still had 2 more hours before my alarm was going to go off. That morning, I was rushing around because I overslept, and I had no money, was starving, needed to get some breakfast on my way to work. So I grabbed some change off the table. It belonged to my roommate. So I wrote this quick note apologizing for stealing, saying I was robbed in the night, blah, 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 Jeanie. I go to work, and I don't know why, but I didn't talk to any of my coworkers about it. Didn't mention it, and then my roommate called a couple of hours later and asked, "Are you all right?" And finally, it hit me what had happened. And it was only then, however many hours later, that I just broke down and started bawling hysterically. I was just totally overwhelmed by the whole experience. I guess I'd been in a state of shock up until then, and it was my roommate sort of asking me if I was all right that just sort of broke open the floodgates. Anyway, he called the police to report the break-in, and they sent an officer over to take my statement and to reprimand me for not having called them sooner. Apparently, if I had called them right away, they probably could have caught him before he even got off my fire escape, because I lived in a pretty heavily policed area. It wasn't the nicest neighborhood in town. But at least I had a really good description of the guy. He didn't seem like a crackhead or anything like that. He wasn't all wild-eyed and desperate. He was just some guy, and a pretty friendly one when it came right down to it. A couple of days after that, I went to the police station to look through the books of mugshots. He wasn't in there. I guess he'd never been caught before. A few months after the break-in, I moved out of that apartment, so I never knew if he came back to party and repay me. I did think that I saw him once, and my heart started fluttering, and I thought, what am I going to say? What am I going to say to him? But I was on a streetcar, and he was on the street, and the moment passed. But I do know that if I ever do see him again, I will be sure to ask for my $15 back, because what goes around goes around.